Welcome back. Today, here on 101 East, we're discussing Japan's political crisis with Hiro Katsumata, Research Fellow at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies, Noriko Hama, Writer and Professor at Doshisha Business School in Kyoto, and Hisahiko Okazaki, one of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's closest advisors. Welcome back, everybody. Mr. Okazaki, I wonder if the current political crisis is merely a kind of repeat of what we saw in Japanese politics in the late 80s, early 90s, a kind of revolving door of prime ministers being shuttled out by the LDP elite.
Well, everyone, yes, even if one doesn't have any political conviction, and everyone wants to become a prime minister out of the political dynamism of factions. That will happen. That will happen. And in the near future, I hope it will be short, but it's inevitable.
Do you see any new leaders coming up, Noriko Hama?
Well, if you're talking about leadership, it's probably got to a point where it's pretty much immaterial how the LDP behave. And I think it is a bit of a contradiction in terms of the hope for the LDP to change. It has always been a revolving door system, and I'm not at all surprised that this is coming back within the LDP. But I think we are getting to a point where the Japanese voters, the people, are simply so fed up with the LDP ways of doing things, of conducting politics, that indeed they are very much calling for that regime change, which actually was very much Mr. Abe's campaigning point. So very paradoxically, it looks as though Mr. Abe is actually realizing the regime change that he wanted to make happen. Certainly not in the way he wanted it to see it happen, but I mean, I think we are getting to the end of LDP politics. As it was before. The LDP will not be able to change, but I think what is happening is that people are calling for new leadership, a new administration, and indeed a regime change.
Hiro Katsumata, a regime change, a complete change of culture in the LDP, because the LDP needs to respond to what Japanese people want. That's what Noriko Hama says. Do you agree that this is the situation in Japan?
Yes, certainly I strongly agree. And if I may add one more aspect to this one, LDP currently losing credibility. They are not supported by Japanese people in general, but their problem is not the policy, their policy itself. Their domestic policy, foreign policy, quite okay. The reason why Prime Minister Abe had to go, not because of his policy, but this is where the credibility issue comes in. His appointment of the cabinet members, that was the problem, the issue of personnel, not the issue of policy.
By personnel issue, do you mean the series of resignations and scandals that have dogged several members of the cabinet?
See, Prime Minister Abe came to office exactly 1 year ago. 3 agriculture ministers. We had 3 agricultural ministers in 1 year. That's too many. Simply, one of them committed suicide, and 2 of them had some finance issues, and simply, and then after all, Prime Minister was responsible, and many of them happened to be his close friends.
Mr. Okazaki, for the first time ever during the Abe administration, the opposition Democratic Party of Japan won a majority in the upper house. How worried are the LDP about this development?
Well, LDP has still almost 2/3 majority in the lower house, and Democratic Party, that's a kind of it's not a party united with one ideology.
Noriko Hama, part of the reason why the LDP lost its majority in the upper house is because of the vote in the countryside. Why are voters turning away from the LDP?
Well, indeed, that's a good point, which I would like to address. But just before that, to go back to Mr. Okazaki's comments about the Democratic Party of Japan and the LDP, well, I should like to say that if the Democratic Party of Japan is not a party, the LDP has never actually been a party. It has always been a loose coalition of warring tribes, if you like to put it that way. You know, the LDP is what the LDP is. And I think a part of the reason why it has been so incapable to address the very fundamental issues that Japan faces at this moment, most notably the economic issues, is indeed because the LDP is not a coherent party. And I think there are very important policy issues, not only the personalities, not only the sleaze, not only the scandals, all of which are a problem, of course, but I think there is this sheer total misunderstanding of what is happening in the Japanese economy, in Japanese society. Globalization has come to Japan in a big way, as a result of which a lot of pain is being felt by the people in the countryside. They are asking for much better social safety net policies, much better social policies in general, in order to help out. Now that the Japanese economy is starting to behave like a normal, competitive economy.
You've been very blunt, and you sound a little angry about what's happened, the disconnect between the people and politicians in Japan. But from the rest of the world, Japan is a rich country. It's the second biggest economy.
Well, this is a part of the problem, I suppose, that the Japanese economy is indeed a very rich economy. It has been an economy with virtual non-unemployment for a very, very long time. We are not used to having the disparity build up between income disparity, regional disparity, disparity amongst companies, which are all normal in a market economy. But the market economy has been a long time coming to Japan. It suddenly hit us all of a sudden. And the shock is all the more greater because we have not been used to this and very much being cocooned, if you like, in the essentially sort of non-competitive economic environment that we had been so used to in the past.
Mr. Okazaki, I'd like you to respond, please, to
Yes.
some of the comments of Noriko Hama. A complete misunderstanding, she says, by the LDP of the situation on the ground in Japan, the challenges facing Japan economically, internationally, domestically.
Ms. Hama refers to the question of disparity. But actually, I think that's a kind of a phenomenal issue, because only 5 years ago, everyone was deeply concerned on the stagnation of Japanese economy. It hits the bottom, and everyone worried about the future of Japan. And actually, they wanted Koizumi to splash money, but actually he didn't. But without doing that, economy recovered. And suddenly, the oppositions and mass media lost the target. He couldn't criticize Koizumi for the failure of economic policy. And then somebody took up the question of disparity. And you know, disparity is fundamentally a socialist agenda. And the capitalism or democracy, they are based on the free competition. So, what Abe introduced was the free competition with the so-called safety net, and saving the people who dropped out from the competition.
Finally, Hiro Katsumata, as you look in the next few years, do you think that this disparity is just a phenomenon?
Certainly, that's one of the key issues. But the broader issue is that the whole economy is in difficulty over the last more than a decade, and that is partially or mainly the result of this political uncertainty. And my main concern is, if this current political turmoil or uncertainty goes on for a long time, then the Japanese economy will be in a more difficult situation, because market is always honest. They don't want to see political uncertainty prolonged.
I see. Well, that's all we have time for here on 101 East. My thanks to our guests, Hiro Katsumata, Noriko Hama, and to Hisahiko Okazaki. From all of us here on the show, goodbye until next week.